Josh. Nice to meet you.
Hello. That's Bailey. That's Randy.
Hi.
Thank you.
Enough seats
It's
up?
live studio audience. That's great. We love her. You are a special guest. What do we get? Do we have tea? Hello, welcome to our second Facebook Live ToddTalk. I'm Todd Jersey, architect. Today's January 17th, and our topic today is accessory dwelling units. And it's a big topic, it's an exciting topic. A few years ago, let's say 5 years ago, it was very difficult to build accessory dwelling units because municipalities require a parking lot for an off-street parking space for an additional dwelling unit. The state came in and said, well, actually, we have a housing crisis, and we need as many dwellings as we can. We are going to supersede that typical municipal roadblock. The state created a law. There's actually quite a bit of law around ADUs now, but the biggest part of the law is that municipalities can no longer, if the property is close enough, half a mile, walkable to transit, the city cannot require an off-street parking space. Well, that opened up the floodgates of people wanting now, being able to do accessory dwelling units. So I'm going to go over the basic issues, the things to think about when you're thinking about doing an accessory dwelling unit. And then I will reveal to you what I consider the world's best accessory dwelling unit. Yeah, I mean, it's patented. World's best, the world's best part. Okay, so we're going to start with the planning issues. And the planning issues have to do with the planning department in your different municipalities and what they're going to be looking at in terms of being able to approve your application for an accessory dwelling unit. We talked about parking. Heights and setbacks in accessory dwelling unit is typically a separate building, although you can put an accessory dwelling unit inside your house as well. But the typical ADU is something that's built in a backyard, so we're really just going to be talking about that. One of the first things you need to do is get a professional site survey from a civil engineer, usually about $1,000. The site survey, you have a little, looks something like this. It gives you the property lines of the house. It gives you topographic information, your slopes. It shows you the existing buildings, existing fences, and different features. Your designer, your architect, or your contractor, whoever's designing your project, is going to need that to start with. Because the ADU going in the backyard is very space sensitive. We have to know exactly where the property lines are, exactly where the house is. This is an example of the next thing you're going to do, which is develop an architectural site plan for your ADU. This site plan this is done by your architect or designer, takes the information from the site survey and gives it more detail in terms of what we need to design it. So this is an example of an ADU we have done in Albany. And it shows you, it's the architectural site plan, shows you the existing house, which is about 1,670 square feet. It's a 50 by 100 lot, it's a nice size lot, really good candidate for an ADU. And then a 592 square foot single bedroom ADU. The height and setbacks is a really important part of an accessory dwelling unit. The state law does not supersede a municipal law when it comes to accessory dwellings, the heights and setbacks. Almost all municipalities, if you're going to build in a backyard or in what's called the rear yard setback area, they confine the height that you can build to a typical height is about 12 feet. So you're talking about a single story building. Once you get past the rear yard setback, you are able to go taller. But for the most part, an ADU is trying to squeeze to the back of the property so that you can have property between the ADU and the main house. So you're trying to push it back as far as you can. So that's height. Setbacks. Municipalities will govern setbacks. Typically, they'll allow an ADU to come within 3 feet of a neighboring property line. Sometimes you can go right up to the property line. If you're closer than 5 feet, there are building code restrictions we'll talk about, but we're typically going to be between 3 and 5 feet from the rear and the side setbacks. Use restrictions, ADUs, the state also does not supersede municipal codes when it comes to use restrictions of ADUs. So different cities have different use restrictions. In Berkeley, you cannot do Airbnb, you cannot have temporary rentals. So you have to sign something with the planning department that is basically a use restriction, and it becomes a deed restriction on your ADU in your title report. It's a legal document. Other than that, ADU can be rented. Let's see. In City of Berkeley requires you to have a separate address. That's for the fire department, so they know there's a building back there, and somebody calls, says, you know, I'm in such and such address, and you have to post your address so it's visible from the street. The other kind of planning issues are just a design issues, whether you want a one-bedroom or a studio building, because the ADU. Did I talk about size restriction? The size restriction of the ADU is governed by the size of the main residence of the house. So if the main residence, and it's typically about a third. So your ADUs only can be about a third of your main residence. So if you have a small residence, 800 square feet, you have a very small ADU. This house had a 1,600 square feet house. We were able to put up, 592 square foot ADU, and right around 600 square feet is what you need for a one bedroom. If you're down at 500, it's tough to get a one bedroom in. You might think about doing a studio. So now we're going to get to once we sort of planned out, given how big our house is, we've looked at our setbacks. We obviously have constraints in terms of just the physical amount of yard you have, and how much yard you want to have for that house, and how much you want to allocate for the ADU, and how you want to deal with privacy issues. You've come up basically with where the ADU is going to be, sort of the size of it. After that, in sort of the footprint, if you will, right? After that, we'll get into the actual design of the ADU itself. In the house we just looked at, here's the existing house. This is a larger scale drawing. For reasons, this is the city of Albany, for reasons that are kind of Byzantine in the city of Albany, we could only take up a certain amount of the rear yard in the ADU. That's very rare, actually. So we weren't able to put the ADU where we would typically put it, sort of in the back. But we took advantage of that by creating sort of a nice relationship between, this is actually an in-law. It's designed and built as an in-law. We took we used the opportunity to create a really kind of nice space with a shared deck, redwood deck between the two. This is the existing house. Their kitchen is here, their table is there. The moms, the mother-in-laws, I don't know why they call them mother-in-laws, it could be mother, the in-law, she's going to stay there, the mom's staying there. Her kitchen's here, her dining here, her wall's here. So you can see the relationship between the two kitchens and a shared deck. Very nice. So, okay, Mom, let's have a meal. And then she didn't even have to come to your house, which is great. I didn't say that. You can have a shared meal over here, right? Why don't you cook? Yeah, you cook. Let's share the meal. Have a nice day. We're in California. We also then wanted a separate identity. We have a separate, so we have a separate entry for her. She comes off the street down the path here. She's got a front door, right? Her own identity, front door. She can close this, put down the curtains if she's in a fight with her dog. So she's got her own identity. This is south facing. We've put this deck here. We've got a bench here. It's a great relationship between front door, master bedroom window, kitchen window, and a deck. So those are some of the fun things you want to think about in an AD when you're designing an accessory dwelling unit. Is how are you sharing the space? Are you sharing your space, and in what ways? Okay, so once we've planned it out, we know where it is, we've done basically what you're seeing here. This is an architecturally rendered plan that we might present to a client. Shows the size, it shows how the building works. So now we're getting into the sort of refining the design of the ADU itself. So this is an example of a one-bedroom ADU. You can see that you really, in any ADU, you're not going to have separate dining and kitchen and things like that. With a contemporary floor plan, with a great room, a bedroom and bathroom, closet. Very simple. Come in, there's a main hall closet with a washer dryer, open kitchen, dining, living. Where the television is very important. As a designer, don't drop that out because you think that TV is bad. We orient a lot of our lives around television. This plan, I always put in television in. You can see in the living space, I can sit like that on the couch and watch the TV. I can watch the TV from the dining room. I can watch the TV. I'm cutting my vegetables. I can watch the television. So, or any media, right? Open kitchen. Closet is really nice to have near a kitchen because this closet can double as a pantry. It's always nice to have a pantry near a kitchen, especially in a contemporary setting. You want to be able to minimize the upper cabinets, have windows, and you can see it's really quite a spacious kitchen. A living room nook is all you need, and it's got enough for dining. This island is really a table. It's at 40 to 44 inches above, so it's perfect for standing. This is a 30-inch table. Your kitchen cabinets are at 36 inches. And if you're a little tall like me, you might want that island and that table for preparation to come up a little bit. Acts also as an eating table. This is the kind of thing where you have a little stool, and not a chair, a little stool, and you're gathering around that. You can eat breakfast in that. You always want a skylight above that. Just always have a skylight above that area. So 592 square feet, super functional, actually quite spacious bathroom. Walk-in closet, nice 11 by 12 master bedroom, all the components you need right off of the deck, and then we have a secondary entry back off of a nice shared deck between the two buildings. When you're talking about the design of an ADU, you're usually close enough to the property lines where you're going to need fire-rated construction. Anytime you're closer than 5 feet to a property line, you need fire-rated construction. It's not a big deal. You just need to be aware of it. Your architect or designer will usually a stucco wall with sheetrock interior is a 1 hour fire rated wall system. So it's nothing to be alarmed about. It's just something you need to be thinking about. There are extensive green building laws now in California and in most municipalities. So that is something that's good. And you'll need to conform to those kind of checklists. I will say before I get into that, let me bring this over. You can't really see it. So this is, I'm going to assume, what this is a very economical accessory dwelling unit design. So we designed this for a client who are sort of our typical clients, who are people with enough means to do something, but by no means a lot of means. So you can see here that we use a very simple raised floor, which is the least expensive way to build. Since the existing house is raised floor and we're having a deck between the two, this was the best way to go as well. So you can see here, whenever you have a raised floor, you're going to have steps up to it. Nice. We took advantage of the fact this is also raised. These two are on the same level. We have a deck between. That's a nice relationship. This is basically a hip-style roof with the truss system. So the roof is manufactured. The roofing framing, the components of the roof itself are manufactured off-site. It's a very inexpensive way to do a roof, which is also makes it quite nice. I don't know if you guys, I guess you can't see the elevations over there. You can bring them over. Very simple building, but it's also pretty sophisticated in a certain way. So I'll go through those. Just because an ADU is, you're building it economically doesn't mean it shouldn't be designed and built well. So this is a well-designed, well-built ADU that's very affordable. So, here's a couple of tricks that we use on how to do that. We are a leading sustainable firm, so we're very interested in energy efficiency. We do our homework, and so some of the ways we think also really help you save money. Thank you. This is the elevation. Very simple elevations, very economical windows. A hip roof always makes it kind of a nice roof, but it scales it down a little bit. Very simple elevation. Thank you. Okay, so here's where to make the building better and also to save money. I'm going to talk about infrastructure and the mechanical electrical plumbing. So in an ADU, I recommend you go all electric. You do not need to have a gas line out to your building. That will save you $3,000 to $5,000, which on an ADU budget is a lot of money. You can use electric baseboard heat, which although inefficient in itself, is highly controllable and inexpensive. How we're going to make up for the inefficiency of electric baseboard heat is we're going to add what we call continuous insulation on the building. This is done, we have a way to do it extremely cheaply. We did it, my wife and I did it in our place. We put it on the inside of the walls, continuous insulation. What that does, it creates a conductivity break between the outside and the inside, increases the thermal performance of the wall drastically, reduces what's called the amount of heat required, or the heating load, so that you'll pass the Title 24 energy code using electric baseboard heat. Typically, if you don't do that, you're going to have to put in a gas heater because electric's too inefficient. Doing this system, we spend a little bit more on insulation, really just $1,000 more in insulation. We save $5,000 on the heating system. And then we're all electric. We're not using gas. So we've saved on not having to put a gas line in. Also in terms of sustainability, all our clients are putting solar in these days because it makes financial sense. So now you've really you've gotten to net zero and lowered your carbon footprint. It's a great thing. So the other thing is people think, well, how do I heat my water? That's typically still done with a gas water heater. We now have amazing technology called a hot water heat pump, or heat pump hot water heater. And those are electric, they're extremely efficient. And those use electricity to heat hot water. They're a little more expensive than the gas, but you save 5x on not having to put the gas line in. Also, since they're not combustible, you don't have any carbon dioxide emissions or issues that you could be inside the building with nothing needs venting. And then we typically, on an ADU, small buildings like this, would typically just put in an efficient electric burner. So you've gone all electric, you've got solar, you're not using, your fossil fuel use is down, you're really carbon negative at that point in terms of the operations of the building. I would say about half the cases you're going to need a sewer injector pump. Because the half the cases your site is sloping down away from the street, and your ADU is at the bottom, and you're going to need to sort of pump that up. It's not a huge cost, but in about 50% of the cases, you're going to need that. Budgeting wise, you're going to need to budget for design services and permit fees, which we call soft costs, and of course construction, which we call hard costs. This project was done for under $200,000. So for everything, including permits, fees, structural, architecture, and construction. It's been built. It's almost got its occupancy permit. But yeah, so That's about as low as you're going to get for a 600 square foot building. It's under $500 a square foot. It's in the 400, but so you can figure that out. The construction was about 150, and everything else, architecture, survey, structural engineer, city fees, was about 50, and that's about your relationship between soft costs and hard costs. Timeline, design and permits 6 to 12 months, depending on what city you're in. Albany was difficult because of the very funny, Alex remembers that, the very funny laws they had about setbacks. It was hard, it's actually even hard to understand it. We had to go to many meetings to even understand it. Construction, 6 to 10 months. It's a 1 to 2 year process. 1 is aggressive, 2 is, I would lean to think it's really when you really get down to it. 2, you don't want to speed any of this up because you, as a homeowner, you want to have time to digest the designs. You don't want to work quickly with it unless you have a deadline like your mom's moving in 18 months like this client did. So we push it as fast as we could. That's all I have. You can reach me here. Here's my cellular phone number. If you want us to send you a video of this, of course you can reach Shivani through Facebook. That's all I have, but I'll take questions. Well, thank you. Questions, please.
You were talking about how municipal requirements come into play. What about when it comes to building ADUs in county area, unincorporated county lands?
It's very similar. So municipal or county, the constraints are very similar. The laws around building accessory buildings around the country are very similar. You can build them. They constrain the size. Typically, they've been for art studios and non-residential uses. Small, but everywhere we've done in the Bay Area, it's very similar. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest mistake people make when designing or building an ADU?
The biggest mistake people make is under budgeting. So that's a really big deal to work with an architect to really understand. And the way we do it, and it's a great question, because the way we do it is we bring in our contractor early in the process. Though I know construction costs extremely well, we don't want to be silly and have this thing designed and then have the owner pitch it out to our contractor and get a bid that comes back too high for them. So I was talking to a colleague the other day, and only about a third of the ADUs that get permitted in San Francisco get built. So that's telling you that there's a disconnect between the design process and the construction budgeting. And we avoid that by doing sort of a integrated approach, where we bring. I was a builder before I went to architecture school, so we were definitely above a typical architecture firm in terms of understanding costs, what to do, what not to do. But we also do bring in. As soon as we're at sort of this level, a little bit beyond this level, and we've defined our scope, and we need a sewage pump, and we'll put together a cost estimate and get a builder to look at it. Because we want our stuff built, we don't want unhappy clients. Other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
How would the utilities work with an existing house and an ADU? Would you need
That's a great
separate things, or
That
could
is
you mix
that's
it?
a fabulous question. So you can, let's look at electrical first. You can get your own electrical meter for an ADU, but that means PG&E dropping a separate service line. That's $5,000 to $10,000. In our house, we just recently did an ADU. Do what most people do, which is just add a piece to take the load in your existing panel. You might have to upgrade it if it's an older panel. Pull your loads out and put a electric sub panel, not a service panel, electric sub panel. Your service remains in your house. Electric sub panel is significantly less expensive. It does mean that you have one account, one meter, and you're paying for the electricity of the ADU. If you're renting that, you would want to account for that, utilities included. And then sewage, of course, you wouldn't have a separate. So basically, the house would take care of the utilities, water, and so you don't want separate meters. So that's going to save enormous amounts of money. Yeah.
Is it common for homeowners to use like prefab systems or like shipping containers or anything like that for their ADUs?
It's fad. It would be very difficult to beat this price. In fact, I don't know of a modular or a system that can get this kind of size, this kind of customization anywhere close to this size. So you really, modular construction is really not at a place where it can really compete with a site-built, custom-built. Especially think about an ADU, it's very, very fussy. Has so many constraints, the size of the backyard, where you want your doors, how you want to deal with privacy. So you need a custom design, and this is built for under $200 a square foot. You'd be extremely hard pressed to find any modular or fast built to be delivering a product for $200 a square foot, and that includes the utilities. So they'll say $200 a square foot, and then well, that doesn't include sewer, that doesn't include the gas line, that doesn't include electrical, and all of a sudden you're up to $350, $400 a square foot. Yeah.
But as a follow-up,
Yeah.
you still might want to look at compare a factory-built custom for minimal impact and construction time in your backyard.
Construction times is a good question. But it's not as sexy as they make it out, because you still have to do all the infrastructure work. You have to build the foundation. There's a decreased time in sort of getting the frame up, but then you have to finish it out, typically roofing. It can save you some time. It can maybe save you a month or two, but then you have to look at really how important is usually in an ADU you're not, the amount of time to construct a project isn't a critical piece, nor do you have like a prevailing wage issue. So I've done the homework, and I'm happy to talk to people more about that. We're happy to help a client with the prefabricated product if they can find one that makes sense. But usually our clients are so cost conscious that we were going to look, and this always wins. Also, just the fact that you are really, really, really tightly building this to exact square foot. Remember, we had that 1/3. So that's the other thing. The size of the ADU is very particular. It's basically 33% of the existing house. So now your factory built stuff comes in pre sizes. But your ability to really customize something that has a lot of fussy constraints is very limited, and that therefore, for that reason, we don't find that makes sense from an economic point of view. Other questions?
I think I just have a follow-up question. So you said you consult with ADUs.
Yes.
So how would an interested person go about getting in touch with you, and how would you add value to their position or help them understand what to do?
So it's easy to work with us because we have a 1 to 2 hour free consultation. So I'll come out and look at your site and look at your needs and talk to you about costs and your ability to pay and what your budget might be and what size, and you're interested in sustainability and solar and all those things we can address pretty quickly. I'll be able to suss out. Some properties are fantastic candidates for ADUs, some are less. We didn't really talk about retrofitting a garage or anything like that. If you do have an existing building you're looking at retrofitting, that's a great reason to get myself or an architect out. Let's look at that existing building. Does it have merit? Is it worth keeping? And help you with your needs. Okay. Thanks so much for joining us on Facebook Live. We'll see you at next ToddTalk.